welcome back. Well, I'm going to make this quick and painless for you. You'll love that. Cinebench R23, likely not optimized for the M1, but also these are simulation tests, same as Geekbench and many others. They're just rough idea. They're not real world numbers. However, what we did get on our initial test with the M1 Mini was 7826. Now, I also say not optimized because otherwise it would have gotten the processor speed correct, because the processor speed is actually 3.2 gigahertz, not 3 gigahertz. So, anyways, this was previous to an update that I got, and since updating the OS, we are now up to 7839. So that's a big difference between both tests. And I'm thinking, okay, well, we didn't change the build version of the OS, but it's kind of like whatever that update was, which I really didn't pay attention to. I just, you got an update. Sure, let's do it. But anyways, whatever it did, it gained us a little bit of extra credit, which was nice. And this is in the multi-core test. So that's pretty good. Quite happy with that. So in the single core test, of course, this is, I never tested the single core prior to the update. So it was just, I actually ran that single core test and the other multi-core test just today. And in our single core testing, we actually scored 1525, which is pretty good. And multi-processor ratio is 5.14. So I'd say pretty respectable considering what's on the top of the list. And again, Cinebench is not likely optimized for the M1, and it doesn't even have the right speed listed for my processor. I mean, they list the speed properly for the Intel, 2.81, but they call this 3, and yeah, my information says 3.2, not 3. So obviously, we're running under Rosetta, which is definitely going to throw things out, which is why you only take these tests with a grain of salt. But pretty respectable either way. But see, this is the funny part. It says here single core 3.2, multi-core 3. But yet single core here it says 3. Yeah, 8 cores total at 3 gigahertz. It's kind of weird. I don't know what's going on with these two up here, but I mean it is a 3.2 gigahertz 8-core processor. But anyways, whatever, it is what it is. That's what we got, and that's on my Mac Mini. Now I know you guys have seen a lot of them with 8 gigs of RAM in them and seen how they're doing. 16 gigs of RAM. It's not going to be a great deal difference between 8 and 16 gigs as far as the test results go, because there is definitely leftover RAM, because Cinebench in itself does not chew up a lot of memory. If you go to your Mac Activity Monitor program, once this thing populates its list, Cinebench is actually using up 385.3 megabytes of RAM, and there's some other stuff obviously going on in the background here, like your OS and everything. Total memory in use is only 5.3 gigs 5.36 gigabytes used. The OS by itself chews just a hair over 4 gigs of RAM, which is why Monterey can run 4 gigs of RAM, but then everything else is going to be page swapped. So you really don't want a low memory computer running Monterey, because Intel processors will run Monterey, but if you have less than 8 gigs, you want to talk about pokey slow? Oh my goodness, you have no idea. It's going to be bad. So anyways, that's our activity monitor. The other thing I want to show you, while we are here, we might as well do this. Let's go to disk speed test. Now, the hard drive in this thing is flippin' nuts. It is fast. I'm impressed with Apple. They actually did something right here. So we've got 2268.6 on the write, 2903.6 on the read. That is really impressive drive speeds for an internal soldered on SSD. I mean, that's equivalent. Well, actually, my drive in my Windows Tower is actually a little quicker because it's up to is 3300 megabits per second read write, and it actually runs a little hair quicker than this, but not by much. So, anyways, that's that test. Now let's test this thing in 8K CPU and metal. We're going to start at the top, but we're going to do the 12:1 ratio sets. This way we get everything right on through. So 8K it is. Let's see what happens. 18 frames per second. Metal 8K 51. Not bad. So let's let it populate the rest of the list here. Now, if you want to take a really close look at these numbers, you can actually pause in between each test, like hit the pause button on the video, and you can actually read everything. Okay, so let's get our next test going. We're going to go down the list. 6K, 12:1. Okay. 4K, 12:1. And HD 12:1. And by the way, the disk speed test, we did that at a 5 gig or 5 gigabyte stress test. So that was the top stress test. If you're gonna push it, you push it. Okay, so there's our results from the raw speed test with the HD CPU and HD metal. Now, my personal opinion, guys, I really don't think these computers have been fully unlocked to their max potential for what they are. Especially when you take into account our multi-core test that happened here with two different results on my actual machine. These tests were both done on mine before and after an update, and there was an increase in the point score. So, yeah, I'm thinking these things aren't fully potentialed out yet. And you know, as more and more software too becomes more native, we're going to see a lot different results happening even through Cinebench with the OS, you know. And I'm sure we would score probably a little bit better even with running Big Sur. You know, I mean, an operating system does work with its hardware, so, and Big Sur is not as chunky or resource intense either as Monterey. And Monterey is just a new OS, so I don't think it's been fully unlocked because, you know, Monterey and Big Sur both do need to run on Intel-based Macs as well. So I don't think they're fully at that stage yet for 100% nativity running on the M1s. But the other thing that kind of bugs me about Cinebench 2, which makes me think we're running under Rosetta, which we likely are, is up in here on the cores, it actually shows that we have 3.2 gigahertz, and then it says 3 gigahertz multi-core. okay, versus 3.2 single. Where here we're in the multi-core area and it says it's 3 asterisk mark. Well, what does that tell us? And it says at 3 gigahertz. Well, according to my information that I got, this thing actually is 3.2 gigahertz per core. So it's kind of like, well, which is it? Make up my mind. You know, if we go into the single core area, you know, it's telling us the same thing at 3 gigahertz. Now the multiprocessor ratio is 5.14, is what it's scored at. I mean, our OS build versions are the same, so whatever the update was didn't change the build version, obviously. So we'll have to wait and see what happens there. But from looking at this, we're 64-bit for Cinebench 23. Yeah, so anyway, that's what we have for results. Take them for what they're worth. Real world testing, I mean, people have done all these simulation programs and they tell you the same thing. It's a grain of salt is about it. It's not 100% accurate. The best accuracy is real world testing with real world programs. So take a PC with running a PC app, which will be native for it, and then take the Mac app for the M1 and make it a native app for the M1, and you're definitely going to see the Mac really crunch down and, you know, haul some serious butt. So, but anyways, that's it. That's all. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Do stay tuned too. So do subscribe if you haven't already and smash the bell for notifications. I still have reviews to do on the Logitech keyboard and mouse that I bought for this thing, as well as the 7-port powered hub. I want to talk about that as well, and I'll show you the rest of the goodies I've been also attaching to this thing at the same time. But anyways, in the meantime, we'll catch you on the next one. See ya.